Hi world, how are you? Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being here. Wow, I see you guys, let me see the chat room. Hello, Crystal. Hello, Blanca, Sharon, Ryan. Thank you guys for being here, for being part of this family. We really appreciate. Today is November 8, 2025. And for season 8, episode 42, we're gonna have Q&A. I'm asking you kindly, try not to ask personal questions. I'm very good when it comes to energy, but if you ask me for what's gonna happen with me if I marry this person, I'm only gonna see the probability in the field of the fluctuation, because all the manifestation is a probable fluctuation in consciousness itself, and it can change instantaneously based on your decision in the now. So something that I read at the moment in your field can change tomorrow if you change completely different behavioral action or whatever you do. So that's why you be very careful when it comes to prophetic structure. Only time prophecy is being given from the Council of Nine if the combination and the fluctuation of everything we do became very potent on vibrational conversion. And that vibrational conversion from the 1 + 1 = 3 = 1 has positive or negative outcome, or just an outcome. Positive or negative outcome is based on perception and consciousness, just the outcome of a fluctuation of electric, magnetic, and gravitational field into the plasma structure. When that happens, consciousness is expanding its own vibrational sequences to the next level, becomes a total mutation. And this is why we have ascension protocols now, ascension process, because it said, I had enough, I've learned enough, now I want to move to the next level. I know that in my creation, something went down in vibration, something went up in vibration. Is just observing. That's why when some people say, how can God and how can consciousness possibly allows negative things to exist and the evil to exist, because it's looking at it as a if you're in a laboratory and you do an experiment and something doesn't work, you're simply gonna restart everything. That's what it's doing. But because unconsciousness has a lot of different self-expressions of itself every single time when it converts and when it becomes something, literally has its own reality, its own structure, and that structure itself, it shows different emotions in a frequency. Again, it's going to be a magnetic and gravitational field. If that magnetic and gravitational field into the collective of consciousness becomes off balance, then it says, oh, let me balance something. This is why we talk that positive emotions, actions, and thoughts have the power of 10 more potency on vibration. It's stronger on vibration. That means we'll overturn something, it's going to overtake something, because consciousness has to exist. And in order to do that, positive emotional fields, positive plasma, which is actually, again, through perception, but basically more force energy into it, and is converting, is like a self mechanism for self-healing, self-preservation. So that's why when we see what's really happening in a lot of areas and we don't agree with stuff, understand that this is just a perception from our understanding. But within a consciousness, you actually went into a virtual reality game because you just want to experience something like this. And that's your fractal expression. Yes, it's a lot of suffering, is a lot of stuff going on, but it's self-reversing now. It's activating this person, that person activates you to be in a platforms like this, whatever you choose to do, because it's actually downloaded that new signal for self-awareness. And you will say to me, well, where is the free will come from? You always have the free will, how you will interact or react on something that it's in a hologram of the mirror image of the vibration. You can say, okay, I understand, and this is exactly how they teach us in the protocols. let me just convert it. And how to convert is all in these protocols. You know that this is like a mathematical, metaphysical way of doing everything of conversion. So now if you go into separation within that field with different realities, and for example, the different religions, different colors, the way we are, yellow, brown, or whatever we are, white, this is just a perception in that particular hologram of reality that somebody control your thought process of how you should think about certain group of people or certain group of religion. And now this is why in the planet Earth right now we have this big battle of good and evil, but it's actually a vibrational sequence that consciousness is trying to basically overwrite its own sequences because it became completely off balance. And now through your free will, you have the complete ability to react or not to react. And that's why, for example, in my Facebook platforms, I urge you to go directly into the platform, because sometimes, they may stop something. I would try to put this video on YouTube. Hopefully, everything is going to go well there. But the way you converting is to pull yourself out of the structure. And when you pull yourself and you're just observing everything, then everything is becoming easier. Now, a lot of you have difficult time. I'm trying for 2 years. I don't know why I'm getting the same thing, because you have an expectations. And until every single off-balance energy field is still attached to your belief system, similar structures of situations and outcomes and realities you will project within your field, because you never clear the whole structure. That's what I said to you is extremely challenging, extremely difficult, because the way they made sure that our consciousness is running and what program our consciousness is running. And again, if you want to find out about this, go to my website again, Jumps Up for Beginners, and you have the video that is what is direct programming. It's all quantum structure, why this is possible, why they do it. Also, when we judge different people, I cannot believe that this is happening. When it becomes off balance, of course you're going to react. Of course you're going to see the suffering. Of course, the first thing you're going to say, well, wait, why are you then posting? Why do we need to share all this stuff when all of a sudden we can just sit and try things to change? Because you were in a hologram that became crystallization into a matter sound field. The way you have 5 states of water, the same thing is happening into the matter of the reality. You gotta now, when something became very predominant in frequency, which became a matter from the etheric, became a matter. Now from the matter, you gotta restructure it back to different field of matter. But to do that is trajectory of protocols, because you gotta mutate from the etheric. You gotta think of different reality, new reality. Then that's gotta be so potent on vibration of your thoughts, emotions, and actions with consistency to mutate now this again. And then that's gotta be created again into a different type of matter, different version. You basically really repainting a new earth, new reality, new structures. And the reason why it's so difficult, because you gotta restructure something that really became very strong on vibrational signal, that new signal that you're mutating the old one, your new signal's gotta be more potent on vibration than the old one. And that is the reason why most of us have so many challenges. And you don't feel special, for example. How come this person is doing that? We all have abilities, but these abilities, they have to be reactivated, because there's no such a thing like a junk DNA or stuff. They always seem dormant, but they had to be restructured, because even in the Bible is telling you that we were living 3,000 years and more. And in order for you to restructure and shift to the new time of reality, you need to go and you need to know the truth of the prehistoric time, the history of the planet, which was a lot of conversion, a lot of manipulation, a lot of things that they didn't know, or they were confused through scripture, through structure, because it was a lot of different resets based on a particular agenda. And you have the black goo information, you have the wars that we talked before, prehistoric time, that was hidden information within the field, and the right people can always download information. So when you ask me Q&A, I'm asking you to ask the Q&A your question for something that is for the humanity. Why is that necessary? Because based on your question, other people will learn, and if they participate in this webinar for them to see in real time or watch it in recording, they were meant to learn from that experience, because otherwise they would never project your question within your their own reality. Because remember, you are not changing anybody, you're projecting everybody in it, and you are of your reflection, you are actually coexisting and turning everything around. So you're thinking, in order to stay above the structure of that manipulation, the way we're talking, remember the Council of Nine gave a lot of predictions. I'm telling you guys, maybe 90% of them became true. The only one that they were talking as a probability for New York was that big commotion, and they were asking us to do a lot of prayer. That's why we went into a subatomic prayers and all this stuff, so we can reconstruct and amplify the frequency, so the country is protected. That doesn't mean that the country and the world is not going to go through different trajectory of evolution for themselves. And what they told me, that each country will have their own trajectory of evolution, because of they were explaining to me, and I don't know if you remember how consciousness, when it reflects on itself, each reality has its own trajectory of evolution. So basically, within the planet Earth, each country has its own pulsation, its own belief system, its own behavioral, personality of, for example, cultural, emotional sequences of personalities, of actions. Different cultures have different beliefs, but based on that, has individually each country different pulsation in a plasma conversion within consciousness itself. So that's why some countries will leap forward faster, and some countries need to do and cleanse a lot of karma that they actually, through history, end up basically gathering. And the reason why they talked about the Council of Nine, talk about the USA, because the USA, no matter, even if it was the globalist military and all the stuff, you got to understand, within that is a lot of layers of subtone realities, that within the core of the USA, basically was given enough freedom so humanity of different cultures can gather. But when these people from different cultures start coming to the USA, the land of the free and all the stuff, understand that they were escaping different regimes and conversions of belief systems so they can do freedom. But because of that, imagine USA like a plasma field, and each soul that comes in energetically looks for freedom. It's the conversion within the heart of each soul. It's a much higher frequency because of the experience that they have from their previous reality. And for example, could be Bulgaria, could be Russia, could be Ukraine, Turkey, any country in the world that, for example, they had a bad experience or some experience that they didn't want to continue. But when they took that vibration and they came to the USA for freedom, the conversion within their heart was for freedom frequency vibration. And that amplified the USA as now the common denominator of everybody's heart. Because remember, the council taught us that, end up teaching us that the heart is not a pump, is actually a conversion. And I was showing you Frank Chester book, what he discovered with the theta hedron. We had a whole video on that. When we open the AI system and just you ask for that, it's going to give you everything you're going to learn custom for yourself. So when that conversion happened, the pulsation is totally different. And this is why we as a USA nation, the people, the vibrational sequence of the common denominator of the people is much potent on vibration for conversion in a mass within the field of consciousness. That is why you have all this craziness and somebody's trying to overtake different clusters in USA, different areas and stuff like this, because they want to convert the belief system based on somebody else's belief system. So you didn't come here to acclimate, you coming here to create your basically to overtake somebody's belief system, which eventually this is not going to work, because now consciousness is not going to allow the way to prehistoric time to have these holy wars. Even we are in a holy war right now between good and evil, but the good and evil has a clusters and sub realities of different belief system in the holy wars, and that was by design, because should be a human race as a united human race regardless of religion and color. But you conquer a consciousness when you divide them. That's why they divided us to pull us out of the land. Before in dark ages, there were the nobility that basically will go and basically like cartel will come and take taxes from people, and it really was a lot of poverty going to the 13th century. That's why we need to know the true history, because then you're gonna see how many resets were done, what was really happening. And why is that important? Because the new split of the timeline that we have, the new two societies. Remember, I was telling you that we're going to have a split of society when one is going to go in the negative, totally digitalized, totally into smart cities and all this stuff. You know, they would think it's so cool, which is okay, but that reality has a different trajectory. And there's another parallel timeline when you can exclude and include some of this stuff, but it's going to be in a balance that you're always going to find the trajectory where you're going to find your freedom. You will manifest different systems, something will be available. So eventually if you remember, they also told me that there will be also banks that they will do conversion, and it's some kind of a system that you're always going to survive through the process of this digitalized control. So when you start looking for it, I want to show you what I discovered. Remember, I was telling you, people are talking about homestead. Yes, that's great, but homestead has a lot of different implications that you have to really do very well your research. You have to see a different land, if that what's happening in the land, if they have deeds, or if they have some backup taxes that you don't know, if the land is clean. Can you do water? Can you do electricity? What type of electricity? Then you have to check the municipal office if they're going to allow you to build different buildings. And you cannot go in a Goonies somewhere that you're fighting with bears and wolves and coyotes or snakes, you know, and you're not accustomed to that, because they separated us from the land on purpose. And now, if you remember, there's a lot of videos right now, or real stories online, on YouTube, not on YouTube, I think it was on Netflix, I don't remember which, but basically they do community, and they're in community and they live in prehistoric time. But what I've noticed that they live in community. They're next to each other. They can have 10 acres or 5 acres, but each neighbor, because I was very curious about that, they were depending on each other. And that's why I show you the video, a lot of videos, a couple of the last time, about communities doing together we grow, that they're building everything through community. The council is pushing it to something like this, because I believe that these new beginnings could be clusters of different communities, including technology, including crypto. You're going to have that, I believe, I know that is going to be a combination of all this stuff. It's not going to be, oh my God, black and white. It's, you will create your own reality that you're always going to find the stuff. Because right now, look around, you definitely have a community. Their neighbors nearby, they all have, if you're not in the city, they all have yards. Well, then do watch the video Together We Grow and see what you can do something with that. If you're in a city, all the buildings on top of it can become greenhouses. Think about it. You know, what is possible to do in Cuba, by the way, when they hit crisis, you can do a research. Maybe you can go to AI and ChatGPT or whatever, Grok or whatever you have, and ask about how Cuba survived the hard time. Literally, the Cuban president, I remember, end up telling everybody that because it's crisis or whatever crisis, I don't remember what that was, but what I really was like a stamp in my mind, that he told everybody, stop planting of every open space of land that you see. And they were planting on rooftops, on top of garages, on a land, and this is how they survive. So you can survive, but if you buy a land, make sure that there's a water, that you can do water, because the water is the one. Muli, remember the movie Muli? Now this video I think is in angelstudio.com. You can have a lot of movies there, but he from nothing in the African desert ended up doing discover water and became like an oasis. I was telling you about that documentary. It was like a movie. It was incredible what this person did. And this is another, they are popping different cities now, that they're between neighbors, communities, and they, I'm going to show you the video right now. But what I want to warn you, between all this stuff, it could be a very big agenda to lock you into certain areas. So you got to be careful who is building it. Do you research what they're planning to do? Do you research, do you have through the municipal office ability not to be under the stamp of somebody that they can tell you, well, you can't have chickens, you can't have goats. That is a control mechanism. So make sure, because remember, the mayors and the municipal office were very important, because the mayors can amplify everything. For example, negative or positive agenda is there. And that's why the mayor of the city is so important, what they would do, because they carry on different agendas based on who is you know, in their pocket or whatever. So I'm gonna show you a recording of a video here. I'm gonna share screen, and I post it on my new Facebook page. I urge you not to go to my private, because now is so much stuff I can't even see what's really happening there. And this is about Gully Green Fields, like oasis, that is full of common spaces. And you're gonna see the whole stuff, how community, for example, you have a community, you could be in New Jersey in a lot of houses, and they did something incredible here, which like almost like self-sustainable community, which I believe that this should be the future with technology and everything else.
Behind me is one of the most fascinating housing developments that I've seen in a long time, and it's a great example of what is sometimes called community-focused development. This is a pocket neighborhood that boasts 23 homes. It's designed around a preserved grove of trees and has a common space. It also boasts a sauna, an extra guest house with a kitchen, and places where kids can safely walk, play, interact with their neighbors door to door, and have autonomy even in childhood. I want to show you more of what this looks like, but let's unpack community-focused development. Meet Eli Spivak of Orange Splot Development. He's the one who built this community. Earlier on in his career, Eli spent more than a decade building affordable homes. But at some point, Eli realized more than just making homes affordable, he wanted to make places with social integration and community. The first home he ever owned is one that he shared with roommates. Even as a self-proclaimed introvert, he realized the life that he got from informal social interactions and just running into people through daily life. Like, what can you do to design a housing development that encourages meaningful social interactions among its inhabitants? But as he got older and even longed for his own front door, he still wanted to be in proximity to his friends. So together with a small group of friends, he bought a cluster of 6 apartments, and they intentionally left one of the units empty so that they could use it for guests or just hosting events. And this is what's central to community-focused developers. Yes, it's how they make their living, but rather than exploiting everything for profits, they focus on what makes communities thrive. In fact, fact, when Eli and his friends went to sell those apartments, they turned them into condos, making sure that whoever bought them would have the chance of long-term home ownership. This is something that Eli does a lot. While most investors would want to keep their portfolio stacked with reoccurring rent and passive income, Eli sells almost everything he builds so that people can put their roots down. As Eli has gotten better at doing this in the long term, he's been able to build places like the one behind me, where there's lush green spaces, fruits hanging from trees, and neighbors who actually spend time together and interact. But don't mistake this for charity. Eli makes a living doing this. It's also a great example of what is sometimes referred to as voluntary inclusive zoning. From the start, Eli worked with a group to make sure that at least 3 of these units were permanently affordable. His company even set aside $50,000 per unit to make that happen. Yet none of this would come to be if it weren't for the expansive zoning reforms of Portland, Oregon. In most cities across America, a paradise like this would be impossible to build.
Did you hear that they were talking actually about zoning reforms? Zoning reforms, that means it's coming from the municipal office. That's why it's very important who you vote, who the people in, when I said get involved, I even posted to my Facebook page why you're so afraid of share something that is obvious, something that is there, because if you share information, people are gonna start waking up. And don't be afraid to speak your truth. That doesn't mean you have to overtake somebody's consciousness, but we need to wake up of that sleep, that everybody's there and that stuff, because you really need to create your own reality. And what I'm saying is really possible. All that is possible. People, for example, it's very important for you to make sure that in your municipal office, you have the freedom to do stuff like that. Because your municipal office can tell you where you can convert that in apartment building. You can convert your house into apartments, and then you can build forestry exactly the way they did like that, but you have to be allowed to do that. But why do we need to be allowed to do that? Why is this total control? Except it should be, if there's some kind of an inspection, it should be something that to give you the freedom for expansion, and not to restrict you if you really want to do, if you know that you want to do something for the community, if you want to know to do the zoning restrictions. I would never forget when I was living in New Jersey. It was shocking. You actually have an exit tax. And that happened in the last couple of years. It's restriction in order for you to put something on a house, not only that you're making your house better, but at the moment you make your house better, for example, you can make a new porch or anything like this to look appealing. They whack you with some kind of a crazy tax that by the time we had our neighbors build the second floor, they made a beautiful home and really enriched the whole neighborhood. Literally, they doubled their taxes from $6,000. I would never forget, went into almost 11,000, and now it's probably 15. It's insanity. Okay, so that's why it's so important to get involved within a local community. And the reason why you see the way they did it in Together We Grow, I believe was New Zealand small community like this one, but they did it themselves. They didn't need a developer to come and do it. So they're different things. And I had another idea when he was talking about it. You can have a house and you can do through zoning law, through lawyers, and you can do something. So, for example, you have 6 houses in a row that you can do exactly what this guy did, and you can convert your homes like a 2-bedroom apartments. Another person can come in, you can charge him a rent or something, but you can convert it. And then again, it's going to be mini community. So I believe we can create like a mini structures of mini cities, but it has to happen from all these places of in the community, and especially the offices, government offices, because all the control is there. So this is why it's starting from a very rural communities, little communities that nobody is expecting, because they have the freedom to build whatever they want. I just watched a video of a girl that bought 30 acres, and she was completely losing her mind because she thought that she can build 3 houses for her kids, some stuff, and the zoning law told her, no, in 30 acres, you can have only 1 house. And that is suppression. Nobody said that you're going to build something like you basically like a junkyard. Maybe that should not be allowed to be appealing, but don't stop people of building something nice for themselves. Should be some restrictions, of course, but the way it's here, that this is a suppression, because they don't want that. And now they tried, in the middle of the country, I just watched another farmer that they actually fighting because under the global warming, they can stop you farming. Something like this tricky that they try to pull into. And I post a lot of this stuff in my Facebook, but I don't see a lot of, I don't know if you see my stuff there, whatever is really happening, if it's available for everybody. So that is for today. I wanted to show you the stuff because it's keep coming. They keep talking about it. We're going to the new level of evolution. They were talking more that we leap into the 5D type of structure. And individual, you could be locked in permanently in a 5D sequence of reality. So no matter what happens here, no matter what happens there, you always gonna have like completely different reality if you pull away from the social media. But if you want to really integrate yourself and help humanity, you have to engage in some shape and form within the social media to point out to neighbors, to friends, and don't be afraid of losing these people. Because what you're going to do is project just the knowledge of a frequency. And that individual, if not from you, by all of a sudden going somewhere and somebody completely different person may say something similar to what you said, immediately is going to be a red light, and light bulb will shine, and they're going to start changing because that frequency was already projected within their field. You've done your job. And now if somebody wants knowledge, if somebody wants to know more from you, open up. Because I've seen a lot of situations that people get angry. People get angry and they will react, they will point a finger. Pull back. I had to learn that to do this a lot. Pull back, because they point finger, they call you name, they hide in behind a name, and they, in the name of religion or in the name of something, you're homophobe or whatever you are, whatever they want to tell you, because fear comes in, insecurity comes in, you shaking down the ground of the frequency. They recognize that and they don't know how to convert it. Stand your ground and be there. I'm sorry if I disturb you. Can I help you out? Would you like to ask me a question? How about this? You have to be compassionate, and you have to be able to withhold a couple of punches that they're gonna give you, because you can become a teacher to that person. You can enlighten them, even if it's for 10 minutes of a conversation, but you're going to help that. And I've done this so many times, that you really stand there, hold the ground, and you being accused, you being punched with words and all this stuff until they wake up. Well, sometimes it took 2 years, for example, from school system, when I started doing all this juicing and all this stuff, they literally wouldn't talk to me because they felt uncomfortable how I looked and stuff. And even I was shiny and I wanted to talk to them, and I was so nice, I wanted to have friends, and I always felt that exile, because God forbid, I look beautiful, I take care of myself, and I constantly talk about different things and different topics. People like this feel insecure. Literally after the second year when they saw me continuing and being nice and being polite, I pulled back because I knew how they looked at me, but I was always nice. And that behavior and the breaking some barrier, and one by one they start coming and asking me, you look so great, what do you do, how do you do that? And I said, for me to say, oh, you didn't talk to me before, you did this and you did that, I opened my heart and I said, I'm here, what can I help you with? And we talked and stuff like that. So that is very important for you to be able to do, and this is what will separate you from people that are insecure. When you learn to do this, it's conversion with your own understanding. That's how you become a teacher. That's how you move ahead and you say, I want to do something for humanity. Well, you can do this for humanity every day by just sharing information that will help somebody to awaken. Because the only way these people to project the new time of reality, when they know that this is possible, when they know that disability is there, except to go to doom and gloom, literally is so saturated now by a lot of people that think they're helping. But if you keep talking doom and gloom without giving the solution, how to get out of this doom and gloom. What you're doing is amplifying the negative frequency, because these people get so worried and do not know how to get out of the timeline because you never gave them the solution. And the race for clicks and how many people are gonna see you and how many stuff, that you will talk about a topic that 3i Atlas, whatever was due. I knew I didn't want to talk about it. You start asking me a question, that's what I did it. But it became such a hot topic. And oh my God, it was almost everybody was in the race of who knows more than the other one. And it's like, this is the loop, and this is the manipulation in the outcome field, because it's not really teaching you when you know, for example, when you know what's going to happen, when you know that, oh my God, maybe this is going to be, maybe there are reptoids over there, maybe over there, this is happening. Tell me if that really, what is exactly this doing for you to really enhance your frequency to get out of the AI matrix? Nothing. What you're doing is constantly getting in a loop of this platform, keep projecting that field. You're talking to a mirror image of a technology all the time, which is an illusion, even this, but we're projecting positive outcomes and positive stuff because you're creating this. But the problem is you're not accelerating that. You always putting yourself in fear of probabilities because somebody may come and take you over. In the meantime, you projecting the takeover within your field because you don't know, you never put new actions and thoughts to convert that negative frequency. So be careful. It's good to be informed what's happening, who is doing what, because then it's going to give you an idea how for you to convert that into a positive and who you may need to talk to. And if you know that some people change their trajectory of belief system, of behaviors, of how they interact with everybody, then you can take a different action. And you're going to know that I'm going to pull out from this person for some time. I'm not really sure what's really happening here, and this is how you're moving forward, guys. I'm pleading for you, please be compassionate. Please start sharing valuable information, not through fear, but if you share information, give them the solution. Look at that person, look about this detox, look about this community. What do you think about that? The quantum manifestation network was created so you can gather, and you can always link everything from my website, marinajacobi.com. Go there, go start dealing with stuff. What I've noticed lately, the council is trying to engage you, because by you just talking on the phone, by you doing all this stuff, this is just a technology. Maybe I will start doing different groups and the way, for example, other people will do it, and I can rent a room and you can guys, you can come and see and we can talk and all this, stuff we can do. If you want a physical interaction, let me know if you're going to come. Of course, I have to charge for that because we have to pay for people, somebody to run the program, but it's not going to be crazy. Something like $10,000 to go somewhere. We're going to do it affordable for everybody, but the interaction is extremely important, because it's the exchange of the energetic field. When you see somebody in person, it's completely different frequency modality. It's not the same. Okay. I encourage you to really research and do this stuff. And if you have challenges, look for solutions. If you have challenges with the money, maybe move with your sister, maybe call another friend, maybe talk to somebody, start doing something, because through the process of that trajectory, you're going to find the solutions. Okay. So now I'm ready for your questions, guys. All right.
First question is from Elizabeth. What is meant by the alchemy of emotions, and how does this affect our fields? And is there a way to harmonize the alchemy?
The alchemy of emotion. Download 33 417713. Recording in the field now. The alchemy is the conversion of the spectrum. When you are reconnecting sequences within your field, the restructuring in the zoning laws of that specific spectrum are very much predominant when the consciousness that is expressing its field of that emotional state is in stabilized 0-point energy field. You've learned about the 0-point energy field and the fluctuation of the analogy of 1 + 1 = 3 = 1. All this combination of the knowledge, if you understood how conversion in consciousness work, will be able to fluctuate and permanently localize the experience from your emotion, thoughts, and actions to be able to control the field. When that field is knowingly controlled, your emotional state will be stabilized, where is still going to be some fluctuation through expression. However, it will be stabilized where the conversion in a plasma structure is predominant and very stable on sound. The sound is going to be so strong on vibration through your conversion that will flick and flick and flick immediately from one structure to another by shrinking in no time. And that is the core of the learning process when your emotional state of the conversion is so predominant of understanding, so you will be able to stabilize your shifting of reality to reality with absolute precision into that sound. So your emotion is actually a conversion into the sound of frequency. It's a plasma structure. And the way is the trajectory that you localize through your intention is what the angular position and the collapse of that manifestation. Next question, please.
Next question is from Helen. It's about free will in the universe and on Earth. You, Bashar, and Dolores Cannon said that free will only exists on Earth. So in other words, out in the universe, free will does not exist. When I die or pass over, I will no longer have free will. Please explain deeper the concept of not having a free will.
Let us correct that statement. We never say that there's no free will in the universe. There are structural bylaws of subatomic conversions. There are always the sound vibrational sequences, subtonalities of expression. We never said that there's no free will. When you go to different expressions of yourself above the structure of the ideology that is created in three-dimensional platform, understand that you can go to a certain location of expressions of yourself, for example, Pleiadians or Arcturians, or the way you know, or in a different planet, the blue planet, for example, it's coming out. Understand that there, everybody is following laws of creation, that you cannot bypass the conversion, because simply consciousness is creating in a certain structure of expression in a metaphysical alchemy. However, you have a free will how you want to express that alchemy. And if you try to bypass these bylaws of creation, which is metaphysical expressions on conversion, quantum structure, quantum reality, narrow field, understand plasma field is mutational. You will have the free will to express the way you want to be. However, what is not changeable is the bylaws of creation. They're always omnipotent, always omnipresent, and always existing. Because without them, nothingness will be there. And even nothingness still will be something, because how do we define nothingness? So you see it's a slight misunderstanding of the interaction with perhaps different belief system. However, we strongly believe that even Dolores Cannon or Bashar, the way it said, they did not particularly meant not a free will at all. They meant probably, of our understanding, the way the question was given, that is predominantly of the structure of how the universe itself is working. The bylaws are always there. They're the core of creation. You are actually creating, expressing, existing, converting, mutating through and bypassing of that modality of creation of plasma. What are the bylaws for that? What are the rules for that? The metaphysical and the quantum equations. But even if they're quantum equation, guess what, guys? There's a free will how that equation can change the trajectory. And that is through that individual consciousness expression within the field of itself. So to say that there's no free will, it's always a free will. When consciousness converts and express something, you will always, no matter what reality you are, no matter what type of a timeline, you're going to have the free will to express your ideology based on what you see in your reflection, no matter what reality you are in. Without the free will, consciousness cannot exist because it needs the free will to express, to expand of different ideas. If there's no free will, how are you going to create something new, something better, for example? It has to be the free will. Cannot be a contradictory ideology within the conscious bylaws. Maybe we just needed to reflect back to you in a different way of expressing. It's always a free will. But the bylaws and the core of the modality of how this is converting is always there, omnipotent, omnipresent, and is always converting. Good question. Next question, please.
Can the Council of Nine, this is from Claire, can the Council of Nine tell us about the Earth grids and whether they are rising in frequency and planets' consciousness through activation of sacred sites throughout planet Earth?
There are activation as we speak in a lot of sacred sites. But understand that within the three-dimensional Arkham field, which became an artificial structure, there were grids that were interacted above the structure, all these sacred sites. They were canceling the frequency vibration from the cancel site, from the Asian sites, because the Asian sites were keeping the planetary position timeline in a certain trajectory of longitude, altitude, and consciousness itself. When that negative platform put a grid, a shield, a vibrational sequence above the planet Earth, it ended up canceling and changing the trajectory of the sacred sites that they were projecting like a sonar frequency, plasma field, electrofield, the conversion. And then when they cancel all that, the planetary consciousness on the three-dimensional plane timeline, literally the frequency of their conversion was shut down to a zero field. And then they converted the sequences based on their narrative. So now that consciousness did not hold the vibrational Asian knowledge within their consciousness, who they're connected to, what is the prehistory of the planet Earth, what is their galactic family, what is the sequence in the DNA, and end up shutting down in a fractal segments within the field of their DNA field, this conversion, and end up shutting down that consciousness to be literally as a new field. That was a reset. And because of that, the conversion of trajectory of consciousness in the planet Earth end up taking a different parallel timeline based on the narrative of these malevolent entities. So you see, it was consciousness grab, soul grab. And this is why we're trying to retrain and put that new system of knowledge within your consciousness. So you, here's the free will start restructuring your ideas of how through the free will you can change the trajectory of your action, thoughts, and deeds, so you can create for yourself the new planetary Earth that already pre-exists in consciousness itself. You just need to mobilize it to create it as a matter. Because right now you're talking to your mirror image, but that frequency knowledge that is projected right now into your consciousness is how to wake you up so you can project the actions and the fields to that new version of yourself, because it already pre-exists. You just need to become it. This way we send in the signals so you can convert all that shutdown into a new fragment of yourself. Rebirth. It's a rebirth. But you have the free will to start walking because the information is already here. Good question. Next question, please.
Next question is from Star. What tools can we use to connect if we've been off balance? Should we strive to stay neutral?
No. Neutrality sometimes can really allow you to move forward, but neutrality through being simplistic and being, how should we say, compliant to something is actually giving more amplify into the negative field. What you need to do is to analyze each fractal expression, what's really happening. Hold your understanding through all we talked to you about, through the quantum structure. Hold your ground, be strong as a steel, and yet compassionate. But your action, thoughts, and deeds, they're going to be through your free will, fractal expression, but you converting each fragment, whatever you see, with a different approach. For some, you must be in a zero to observe. For some, you need to be more forceful to restructure something without giving up. And for some, you have to be extremely compassionate, soft word, love, understanding, silence, pull back, observe. Let that person or consciousness or situation reflect itself by their own choosing, and then you interject through softness, through love, through expression of wisdom and knowledge. Then change can happen, because sometimes the slightest touch makes the best conversions. That because you observed, you saw, and yet sometimes you need to step in and say, no more. So to say that only to be in 0 point is slightly more we need to give into, because we understand that the way we talk to you, stop engaging in the negative field, stop engaging in all that, but that is after you have awakened and you've learned everything we gave you so far of how conversion in consciousness work and what is quantum manifestation protocols, how you can create. When you reach that tip of the mountain and you have that knowledge, then it's time for you to pull back. But could be a time for you to step in, to share information and to help somebody. Then you have all the knowledge vibrating with all that frequency of information. And sometimes you need to be silent. Sometimes you need to be more forceful. And sometimes you need to say no more. and take a physical action to implement something, to grow and change the trajectory of that timeline. But the stillness of the awareness is that 0 point we talk about. From that stillness of awareness, when you have all that knowledge implemented in your consciousness, in a split of a second, you can shift and you can implement every version of yourself that is necessary to convert the reflection that you see. So you see, sometimes you have to be like a chameleon. You need to mutate based on what you see. And if you have that knowledge of everything we taught you about, then you can be a different version of yourself based on what is needed in every fractal moment of your own expression. Thank you. Next question, please.
Next question is from Maureen. How do we clear the mind so the chakras can function properly?
Well, we do not wish to contradict with what we just said. But the best way, if you are, let us simplify, if you are in a distressed position, something shocked you, you were in a situation within your family that it literally opened your mind and you couldn't believe what you see, shocking situation. This is the moment for you to remove yourself out of the situation and get into your shell until you subside your emotion from negative to a stillness of understanding. Then you take the action for something else. So you see, all is connected. You have to be able to analyze the situations that you go yourself into and to convert them accordingly to the teaching structures that we give you. That's why we discuss study, because when you keep tuning in into fifth above dimensional structure information, you're changing the sequence in the vibrational conversion within your consciousness. This is why we did everything for you to study freely, to express yourself, because you have the free will. Next question, please.
Next question is from Ra. What is the collective lesson around family dynamics and karmic entanglement? How do we know when a contract is complete, and what signs show us it's time to let go and trust the completion?
Well, this is where, again, observation. And if you trust the process of the quantum protocols and you start implementing them in a daily basis and overriding the family dynamics or the family drama, by knowing right now that everything is perfect, even if you see the reflection the opposite, eventually that conversion that you were asking will collapse to a positive outcome. But based on each individual and their own expression and counter reaction to the reflection of what you see of that dynamics, they may take more time to convert something for positive outcome, or they may take longer. Or if nothing is changing, no matter what you have done, then you need to permanently pull out, because you can replace that structure, and that will show that you finish your contracts, if you had any. Usually when is a family member is a contract within the field. To finish that contract, and you need to build a new modality. And when you start building the new modality, new people will come in, that they will act like a family to you. You are getting confused that the family dynamic, that the people that were born within your family, understand that you have to think about the soul. Because if you lose part of the family and new friends, they can come in, some of these friends could have been the soul conversion from your different timeline, that they could be your brother, mother, or sister. So you gotta go by vibration of emotional feeling. How do you feel? And not by, that is my mother, that is my father. You have to look the expression of their actions and counter-react with that. And the confusion, the blood is blood, yes, it's true. But how about if these contracts are finishing? You do not want to protect somebody that is, for example, committed something very evil, just because that is the blood, to become an accomplice to that. Or is not impersonal, it's business. That is also another illusion, like a trajectory within the field that is making you convert something to commit something that you shouldn't be, against consciousness conversion. And this is how you create karmas. All balanced frequencies that you're starting now to mobilize and sucking in within your field. And now you gotta start repressing all the realities by running completely different timeline now on these new sequences. So don't be afraid if you need to let go of family dynamics. You will find new friends into the field that could have been your brother, mother, sister from another reality. Or create a new versions that you can at this time can make a contract to continue. So if you have very good friends that you discover, ask them now in real time, do you want to have another lifetime with me? How about we be best friends? Or how about you be my mom? I would love for you to be, or whatever we decide, but let's have a lifetime together. Right then and there, in this moment, you created the bylaw. You created a contract. And when you go to another level of existence, revisit that. You will revisit that, because that will stay within your sequence, within your field. So you see, all is possible. To let go of the prejudice of a family members or whatever is happening in that field, it's probably the most challenging conversion. Why? Because it's the most predominant sequence that you run in your program on. So if you all disengage and start analytically processing through the quantum manifestation protocols we told you, fear will dissipate. And you're going to start really understanding the field and start converting through understanding. And this is how freedom comes in. Thank you. Last question, please.
Last question is from Amanda. We manifest our realities based on the state of our consciousness. Some of us have patterns deeply buried in the subconscious. These things flavor our manifestations. How can we manage these self-hidden aspects of ourselves that we can see only by the effects of our manifestations?
The deep pockets of your subconscious is also hold into a vibrational sequence. It's become a permanent imprint with the subtonality of your fields. It's sometimes very difficult, the person, to be able to get to the core of these fields of conversion. And this is where a deep depression can come in with a lot of people, because they cannot reach the pockets of that vibration. To be able to reach the pockets of that vibration, forget about, we talk about quantum manifestation protocols. Sometimes the emotional sequence of this depression is so predominant of vibration that even when you try to learn our expressions of quantum protocols in conversion, you will not be able to have the will of power to hold your consciousness of understanding of conversion, to be able to collapse these sequences, to be able to bring them up from the collapse. This is where you need to use certain people with abilities that they can tune in, like doctors or psychologists that can tune in within your subconscious, where you will have a free understanding and healing from within. There are people that are very capable of doing that. You can reach sometimes that through lucid dreaming or out-of-body experience. But even out-of-body experience have to have very difficult conversions sometimes to go back into the body. Because when you get out of body, sometimes you do not know how to restructure your consciousness, and thought has to be in a positive sequence. So we are suggesting to tap in if it's completely out of balance, and if you know that you are in self-depression and other from that self-depression could be other subways of behavior. You need to find people to help you in when you can tap into your subconscious mind where the healing from within can start. That's why there are conversions into the reality from higher consciousness too. You may ask for it, but not every single time the person will be able to reach that level of understanding to be able to help itself. Thank you very much. Thank you so much today, guys. I just want to tell you that don't forget to workshop in November 23rd. We're going to talk about consciousness. A Council of Nine was talking about how to control the emotional field. Oh, interesting. It was just about emotional field. And this is going to be a sequence. They gave a sequence. They have to play a sequence for everybody. That's again is total metaphysics. We're going to go deep into metaphysics and stuff like that. And of course, Q&A. So this workshop for me is important. If you want to participate, you can always basically go through my website, workshops. It's right there. I can just show you, when you go to my website, you need to scroll down and the workshop is right here. Webinar replays are here. This is the webinar replays every time. And you know how to do for the webinars. Prayer times is here, but the workshop, you just click on it, is gonna lead you to whatever we talk about it. And this is about the Council of Nine, control of the emotional field. We're gonna have a conversion in frequencies. So again, thank you so much, guys, for today. I love you, and from my heart to yours, thank you for being here and thanks for your support. Bye-bye, guys. Bye.